Okay, let's get started. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. It is, what's today? Tuesday? Is it Wednesday? It's Wednesday, right?
Wednesday.
Wow, Wednesday.
Wednesday.
I'm losing track of the days. Hey, we
Half
got
the month is
Melanie.
over.
I'm sorry?
I said half the month's over already. It's the
Oh,
15th.
my gosh. It's almost time for family reunion. We have one of my favorite people and one of, if not the best team leader in the country. Listen, you're on this webinar. You're the best team leader in the country. That's what I'm going to say.
Nick said it, so it must be true.
It's got to be true. Melanie Kennemann is here. Melanie is, let's just go through some of the things that Melanie has done. Melanie's been a team leader for 12 years.
Yes.
Which kind of blows my mind right now. I was a team leader for 20 months and I lost all my hair, and she still has a full head of hair.
Yes, for the most part.
Yeah, she also, she's at Austin Southwest Market Center in Austin, Texas. Her market center ended the year 2019 #1 in the country for KW for gross commission at $78 million. Just soak that in for a second. $78 million. She has 37 agents in her market center doing $20 million a year in production or more. And they have 11 actual millionaire real estate agents in her market center. And so all of that stuff is incredible to me. And you have like 1,000 agents, right? Something like 1,000.
No, we're at 886.
886, okay.
Yeah.
What's amazing to me is just kind of how you and your leadership team and your agents came together to make all of those incredible numbers happen. And we're going to get to that in a minute. But I just want to talk to you about your background, because you have a really amazing background. You've got tons of experience. So you've been a TL for 12 years. So let's talk about kind of like where that started for you.
Okay, so I moved back. Actually, I'd lived in Germany for 9 years before that. I'm originally from the West Coast, so born in LA, moved to Mammoth Lakes when my parents split, grew up in the Lake Tahoe area. And when I was 18, moved back to LA, got into, I was modeling for a bit in the kind of the film industry in front of camera. Then I went to college, got my degree, and then I was really interested in behind the camera. So that got me to other places, which eventually led me to Germany. So I met my husband, lived in Germany for 9 years. And when I moved to Germany, I couldn't speak the language, because originally when they brought me over, it was really cute to be the American person and everybody had to speak English. When I moved there and wanted to be successful in my career, I knew I had to learn the language. So I just jumped in, and 1 year later, I was actually the set manager, speaking a language I didn't speak a year ago, right? And so that for me was a real turning point in my life. I'd always been very much in leadership. I'd always been like the team, the captain of the volleyball team. I'd been in student council. I've always just been in leadership. And I realized what in the world, why would I ever put a lid on my potential or anybody else's? Because I had an older sister who spoke 3 languages. She was an international major of languages. And I went to Germany, and a year later was fluent running movie sets. So I was like, wow. So it really changed my thinking about potential and what's even possible in life. Stayed there for 9 years, had our 2 little boys, and then we all moved back to the Lake Tahoe area because my mom was there and my sister. And I said, what could I do where there's no limit to, my potential in the next journey? And I got my real estate license. And thankfully, I started as a brand new agent at Keller Williams, because there were 2 people that were influencers in my life that said, you have to check out this up and coming company called Keller Williams from Austin, Texas. And remember, I'd just been in Europe for 9 years. I'm from the West Coast, and I'm like, Keller who? Like, who's this guy, Gary Keller, right? What's up with that? So I went there for my interview, and immediately when I left, I'm like, this is the company for me. This is where I'm going, because it felt like a company I would never outgrow. It felt like a company that I could, that would enhance my skills. I knew I brought something to the table. I wanted to be in business with a company that would just take it to a whole nother level, not tell me to be something that I'm not, but embrace what I do and teach me how to be a better version of myself. And I immediately saw that with Keller Williams. The market was completely crashing at the time when I got licensed. I always say I got my real estate license and I heard this loud crashing noise. And I'm like, what was that? Oh, that was the market, right? And I'm always so proud that I had the most expensive home on my street, right? Not the kind of #1 you want to have. I saw how Keller Williams approached it differently than all of our competitors. And the minute I joined Keller Williams, I was like, that job, team leader, that's me. I'm like, that's like running movie sets in Germany. It's another language. I just have to learn another language. What's the language of real estate? And so 10 months later, I became the team leader at Keller Williams in Reno. And at the time, we were ranked number 4 citywide. And I had the vision. I knew this company was going to be number 1 in the world. I just knew it. I said, with the kind of things that we offer, we are going places. And especially when times are tough, that's when you really see the quality. That's when you really see what's happening, right? So basically, we just embraced the shift book. We did everything that we should do because 65% of our market were short sales or foreclosures. And within that little gap of time, I was there 3.5 years as team leader. When I left there, we were number 1 in our city market share. We were number 1 in our region for profit. And we were number 21 of all of Keller Williams in our little Reno market, right? With 171 agents. But I got to that point where I said, okay, I'm ready for my next opportunity. And my OP originally was going to make me be OP. And I'm like, well, should I be a bold coach? What should I do next? And then I thought, I met Diane Johnson, who's been my business partner for the last 9 years. We met at a career visioning class, which was then Recruit Select with John Davis in Austin. And I said, I'm really going to put myself, I got permission, of course, as you always should, from my OP. And I said, where could I go? Where's next for Melanie? And I always had this feeling I should come to Austin. So I came and met with Diane, and I met with Gary Gentry and Mary Tennant. And I'd known Mary Tennant and all them from years of winning like recruiting contests and stuff like that. The minute I came to Austin, though, on all honesty, I knew I had to come here. And have you ever been in a situation where everything's perfect and you're like, well, I don't want to go there if it's perfect, right? If you feel like, Nick, I know you're like me, like, I don't want to go somewhere if you can't make a difference, right? It's like, what's the fun in that? It's like, then you're just going to be the guy after the great guy that did everything right and everything, right? I want to be the guy that can come in and turn something around and make a difference, right? And it was really interesting because I felt like when I came to Austin to interview to decide if this is really what I wanted to do, I realized that Austin, and from the ALC interviews and stuff, Austin did not realize the cool, sexy, cutting edge company that we were. Like, here we are all across the country, like starting to take over and dominate. But Austin still very much saw us as, go there when you get your license, get all the training you can. It's great for new people. But we were not number 1 in any kind of like, we were still number 1 market share here, but the numbers were very different. So I moved here exactly 9 years ago this month. And I remember looking at the top-down report. So this is where it comes in, right? The top-down report, which of course we're all tracking as team leaders. How are people doing? And I remember that my number 1 agent in Reno had done over 30 million that year and had been interviewed by Gary Keller for best comeback story because I'd recruited him from a local boutique and they were losing everything, right? And they really turned their business around. And then 1 year later, they were the number 1 Fannie Mae lister in our city, did over $1 million in GCI in Reno, okay, with the average price point of 160, right? So when I got here, I hadn't really looked at behind the scenes a lot. So I looked at that top down when I got here, and the number 1 producer at the time had done 26 million. So our number 1, I was like, okay, wow, that's different. I was expecting these huge numbers, right? Because it's Market Center 1. It's Mecca, it's flagship. And there were maybe 2 other people that had done over 20 million. It was Dee Schultz, if you remember that name, who she founded KW Luxury. She was at 26 million, and there was a couple other people around that 20 million mark. And our GCI for that year, the first year that I was here, was 24 million. And so I thought, wow, okay, awesome. There's work to be done. There is so much opportunity around us. So now you fast forward 9 years later. And by the way, 3 years ago, I also became an OP of the North office. So I do that as well, which has been a whole nother level of helping.
So you just have a few things you're doing.
A few things I do, right? And there's another, 480 people at that office. But I said, and I was just telling them this exact story because their numbers where they are at the North right now are the numbers that we were here at the South when I got here. So I'm like, listen, I understand this. I understand these numbers. I just want you guys to know that there's no lid. The only lid is what you put on it, right? There is no ceiling to what's possible because now you fast forward 9 years and our GCI, you mentioned earlier, was $78 million. So it went from 24 to 78, and it's 20 million more than the next Keller Williams office, right? And then our top down, we had maybe 2 to 3 people over 20 million or more. When I was looking at that top down, Nick, I was like, there are so many names on here. I'm just going to count how many people have done 20 million or more. And so in all fairness, number 37 is like 19.8, but it's adjusted volume. So I know he's way over 20. 37 people, right? I was like, 37 people. Our competitors who tell a better story than we do don't have that combined. And we have that right here. And so then right before our call, I was looking, because we just had our ALC meeting and I shared this, of course, with them. There's another 35 between 10 million and 20, right? So think about that. And it's become like the new normal that, you know, part of my objection is like, well, I don't want to do 80 million. I don't know, right? I'm like, it's okay. You don't have to do 80 million. Here's the deal. We never want to be the lid on what you become. If anything, we want to be that accelerator. So just that's a little bit of the history of from my beginnings of Keller Williams to today in Team Leader Hall of Fame. I've had such amazing mentors, Gary Keller and Mary Tennant, and I have a great partner in Diane, and we just added a third team leader because we're really ready to go the next level, Jen Lewis. And so, but it's all about, my thing I say is who you surround yourself with matters 100%. And when you create that community for people that like, and Nick, you and I, because you came and visited me one time when you were at KWI, and we talked about this, and it's like, you know, seeing people for their potential, like usually they don't disappoint me. Like I see one of my, maybe it's my thing or whatever, but I see people for what their potential is. And usually like it's up to them to live up to it, right? I'm never going to think lower of them than they think of themselves. I'm always going to think more of them. And the funny thing is they usually don't disappoint. And so to, you know, how do you create that kind of environment where, and it's so funny because in Austin, we still battle the idea of telling our story, right? People have no idea that we have 37 people that did 20 million or more. Because
you're doing a great job at telling that story. And I just want to say, like, when you hear that you have 37 people doing 20 million or more, right? Like I think one of the limiting beliefs that we hear a lot in the industry is, you know, this person's my competitor, or I'll never break into this area because this person's already there. And I can't do that price point because that agent's already doing it. And so when you hear those things and then you see your numbers, you're just basically debunking that. It's a total limiting belief, right? Like there's clearly enough business to go around to have 37 people doing $20 million in business or more. Like there's clearly enough. So if you're one of those people that's saying, you know, I can't do this because that person's already doing it, I mean, Melanie is just going to completely tell you that you're wrong. So
that is true. Every month when FSO tour comes to our office, you know, and I come and I say, now I want you to listen with an open mind with us, you know, make your open up here, because I know it's so easy to judge and say, oh, but that's the Austin Southwest. It's always been perfect there or whatever. No. Hey guys, we do the same thing you do. Just
KWRI is 3 blocks away. That's why they're so successful.
They just line up outside my office.
Meanwhile, you told me when I visited you, like Gary has been there like 3 times. Like, one time. Okay, one time.
Yeah. One time so it's not, but 3 times we're about to remodel the place.
Yeah. So, you know, because Gary owns the building.
Right.
And so, but he doesn't come by very often. So it's not like they get special treatment.
Right.
So let's talk about, you just said that I have a question for you, right? You just said that Melanie just finished an ALC meeting and then you had some recruiting appointments before that. And now you're on the webinar with me. So you're just like nonstop, back to back, talking about our company and things like that. I noticed, speaking of ALCs, and this is something that I think you can maybe give some advice to other team leaders. And maybe if there's other top 20%ers watching, you can kind of talk to them about your insight into this. I have noticed that on your ALC, because you have a lot of top teams in your office, you've got Tim Heil, you have a Ben Kinney team, you have Ricky Kane, you have Ricky. Yeah. I love Ricky. I noticed that you have mega agents on your ALC, including Ricky, right? Yeah. So, and you don't see that a lot in market. You don't typically see like one of the number 1 agents in a market center on the ALC. How do you get that to happen, right? Like, I know it's not just you, but like, how does that happen? Because I know we struggle with that.
It's definitely a we. Everything here, you know, is a we, right? It's like you win together or you lose together. This is not a Melanie thing. This is a Melanie,
Right.
this little part of it. And I have all these amazing people, and it's much a we. So, you know, it wasn't always like that, though. You know, we didn't always have the top people on our ALC. And like I said, I've come from, it's so funny. When I started in Reno, I remember two of our ALC members, God bless them, and they were amazing guys. They had ownership in the market center, and they did not qualify for the ALC the first year I was doing interviews. And I love them both, Roland and Roy. If you're watching, you guys, I still love you. And they'll probably remember this. And I don't think they loved me right away for it, but they did at the same time, because I said to them, I said, listen, I would love to interview you guys for the ALC. The challenge is you don't qualify. So I really believe that if we're going to have a standard in this company, then we need to get you guys focused on your business. And there's nothing more than I would love next year than to invite you to interview with me on the ALC. And this is a new team leader saying that, right? But I knew from the beginning how much value that would really bring. And I've always believed that the ALC is our opportunity to hang out with our top people. And I want to bring value to them. And we've had some years that have been just knock it out of the park, amazing. And other years we're like, what do we even get done? Right. So this year, the year of reinvention, right? We're all reinventing ourselves on many levels. I said to Diane, I said, what if we have expansion? You named it, right? We've got the Ben Kinney expansion team here. Well, guess what? They've only been here like 2.5 years, maybe. They're number 2 on our top down right now. Number 2, I knew Adelina as a team leader. She'd come and hung out with me a day before she did this. She was a team leader in Oklahoma. And so when she came here, I knew that she was going to be amazing. And I've known Ben for years. So, however, the old way we did the ALC was we probably wouldn't have ever considered Adelina for the ALC, right? Because technically, who's the rainmaker, right? They're an expansion team. Same with John Schultz, who's taken over Tim's team on the sales side. You know, was always like, well, I don't know. It's usually the rainmaker, always the rainmaker. And I said, what if we looked at this differently? We want those top people in the room. What if we invited those people that are legit and bring so much value, because we want to bring them value, right? So we invited John, who runs the Tim Heil group here locally. We invited Adelina. We invited Wendy. Wendy had taken a break. She's back on it. Ricky Kane still says yes. So we have these amazing contributors. And so we're very cognizant this year more than ever that we want to bring value. So one of the things that we all decided in our ALC retreat was, how can we bring value? And we agreed that that 4th week every month is going to be for them. The 4th week is going to be some high level training. So this month in January, we've got Jason Abrams coming. I mean, triple your business and have a life, right? Love Jason. And then we've got another high level class for 10 million and above on a product about kind of like bridge loans that Tim Heil invented called Homeward. Next month, probably a career visioning, whatever. But that 4th week, it's all for them. So, and then for them, they can either come themselves, invite guests or whatever. And so it's so cool when you really get completely purposeful about, hey guys, we're here to add value to you. And Nick, you don't know this, but you posted about the culture code. Remember?
Yeah.
You said that's your ALC book. And I was like, oh, I'm going to check it out.
Well, it was gonna be my ALC book, but now before I stepped down from TL, but it was going to be. Yeah.
Okay, well, whoever replaced you as a team leader, you need to do this book with your ALC. We just talked about it in the room. Great book. And if you've not read the book, it opens up and it says when 2 + 2 equals whatever. What is it called? It says when 2 + 2 equals 10. And it's talking about people playing together. So you could have a bunch of talented people that don't function together. And they compare the study that they did again and again about these business students at Yale and Harvard and all these places, right? And the other study group were kindergartners. And the challenge was, here's 20 pieces of dried, spaghetti.
Oh, yeah, I remember this.
You remember, right? Marshmallow, some tape, and make a building. The marshmallow has to sit on top. And you would think that the kindergartners outperformed, but time and time again, the kindergartners outperformed the business people because the business students were too worried about status and looking bad and being right? And so that was such a perfect way to launch our whole mindset for ALC, because we're like, guys, you're the best there is. However, if we don't function together and check our egos at the door, we won't get anything done and you won't grow personally as a person. And we want to pour into you, right? So it was such a great way to start the year. So I've never thanked you for that. So it's because of your post, I did that book.
Well,
And
that's
now
a
our
very
North
good
team's
idea.
doing it too, right? But
Yeah,
I love that story though at the beginning, of how kindergartners just line up shoulder to shoulder,
yeah.
and it's getting it done, right? Whereas the business students are philosophical and measuring each other and the whole status thing, right? And I think a lot of people get in their own way in life, and it comes back to how do you get results out of people is you get, let's check your ego at the side, you talk about it all the time, and you open the doors for them.
Yeah, I used to be. Now I'm a kindergartner now, but I used to be the business guy who like
I
got in
think
his
most
own
of us,
way.
right,
Yeah, for sure.
right,
So let's talk about. All right, so obviously everyone's pouring into each other there
yeah.
at Austin Southwest because you don't have the type of numbers and the type of production and the type of success without that. So and everyone's got to be playing a part. And I'm sure that much of it has to do with your training calendar, right? I'm sure you got some great classes. You just talked about how
Yeah.
Jason Abrams is coming. So to reach that level of success with those numbers, what did you guys do over time to increase the level of training, to get higher level agents to pour in to maybe newer agents or agents that weren't as productive? What were some of the strategy that you implemented to encourage those agents to just get more into culture and to help each other?
Okay, first I'll start with, right, when you have really high level people, if you help them raise, higher up, if you help them think bigger and have a story to tell, then it kind of brings everyone up naturally with them, right? Because now your bar has been raised. So I just come back to, one thing that Diane and I both have been really focused on is the high level training. So the minute career visioning came out, right? Both of us got certified so we could teach it ourselves in the market center and bring value to our people and become the experts of career visioning and how to do a KPA and how to consult people. Really talking about maps and all the different things. Like, it doesn't always have to come from you, but you have to embrace it and I always tell the team leaders I work with is you are the ambassador of Keller Williams as a team leader. You are the ambassador. And so it's your job to be making those connections for people all across the country. And, Tim Heil and I were at a family reunion, and he was, I think, in his second or third year. And he was, first year he did 65 deals, 55 of those were, listings. And then he got a buyer agent, then he doubled that. So I think he was right in his kind of hockey stick third year. And he had this thing. He's like, I want to work with Gene Rivers. And I'm like, well, I know Gene, right? Just from my relationship. So I go and we're at family reunion, and I literally take Tim and I take Gene. I said, you need to know each other, right? And Gene at the time was only consulting like 5 people at a time or something, right? And they created such a great relationship, and Gene made such an impact for Tim in those early years, and helped him get through a lot and do a lot of growth with him. I just made the connection. So I feel like, as team leaders, it's really our responsibility to be that advocate for our people and make the connection. It's not about you. However, it is, because if you're the bottleneck, it is about you, right? Because then you're stopping everybody. But if you're that facilitator for everybody, you're going to make things happen. So being very proactive on what's coming out, what new trainings do we have that nobody else has. So when you look at the roster and you say, wow, 37 people did 20 million or more. Well, you can bet a lot of those are teams. So now we become the company of teams. Nobody else knows how to do that. That becomes our specialty, right? So now we have to combat, okay, well, we're not just for teams, right? We also are for the individual agent. So things like ESO, when expansion systems came out, we got certified ASAP, like, well, can we bring that to the market center? Staying really current. So now you have the technology that's rolling out. Think about Keller Mortgage. When Keller Mortgage came out, we rolled that out here in Austin. It was a very different product than it is today. And the why, that powerful why, it took a while to articulate, right? And so now it's like, why we have training on it every month. How to crush your competition with Keller. And first it was with Keller Mortgage. Well, now it's with Keller Pro tools, right? And we talk about iBuyer, we talk about Keller Mortgage. Like, what are you going to do to compete in the market of tomorrow. So really what I'm saying is that you become that facilitator and you're excited about all the new things and you bring that to your people. Of course, then the second part of that question is, how about the lower producing or the newer agents? How do you connect those dots, right? And so I think that having great coaches helps a lot with that. Having a great master faculty helps a lot with that. We have an amazing group of people that volunteer. We call them the master faculty, that volunteer every month to give their valuable time, because and honestly, when I got here, they were getting money for that. And I was like, why are we paying them? Like, that's an interesting concept, right? Because it's a culture of pay it forward, right? And so we looked at that and said, well, I don't think we need to do that just because it's always been done that way. And it's like the demand raised, like more people wanted to teach because it became this honor. And we said, okay, in our world, you really need to be at least a capper to be teaching Ignite, because we want people in that room that are writing contracts, that understand what's happening in the market right now, right? That didn't sell, that sold real estate 20 years ago or whatever. So I think there's so many pieces here, but it's having great people on your team that get it. And then, even your team, your executive leadership team can only go so far. So then you need great people as, as your other trainers in the room, and just raising the bar of everybody, embracing the technology.
What's your leadership staff look like? You have 3 team leaders.
So we have, so Diane and I are executive team leaders. Diane is also /OP, right? So she's been juggling both for 3 years since I've been OP North. Then we just brought Jen Lewis in as a 3rd team leader. And we didn't want to call her an assistant team leader because we want her just right in there meeting market share right away. Then we have a growth director /assistant team leader that does some calling, and we've kind of switched his role because we had him in a luxury role, and that was not really a good fit for him. He's much more of a lead generator, appointment setter, meet with new agents, great guy. So we have him now on the team. So we've got really 4 of us really focus on growth. That allows us to leave our PCs focused on the in-house stuff, right? Because there's so many, we have to take care of our people. We have a great compliance team. So we have an in-house broker, Linda, who's amazing. Diane and I could not do what we do without her, because she takes all of those like legal questions, problems in transactions. Like, I know a lot of team leaders wear both of those hats. I've never had to wear that hat. I've always been able to be focused on growth and energy, right? And I personally, if there was a choice, I would always rather have that separated, because you do need that like detailed person, let's look at line 3 on the contract, whatever, because that's serious stuff. People need answers. And if you're busy all the time and you can't give them answers, agents get frustrated. So, and then we have a great broker as well. As things escalate, they can help. We have a technology director. We have 2 coaches. Right now, we have 1 vacancy. So I am looking for a great productivity coach. I'll just do a plug here.
Little plug.
You can come work with us in Austin, Texas. We are looking for a greatly motivated person who wants to make a difference. So Ken and Bia were partner team leaders like Diane and I have been partner productivity coaches like Diane and I have been partner team leaders. Bia has just accepted a team leader role in Oregon. Hi, shout out to Bia. And following her dreams after 2 years of being a PC here. I believe that when you bloom where you're planted, all the right doors open. And I always tell people, say yes to the right opportunity. Don't say yes to every opportunity, right? And so I think she did say yes to the next right opportunity for her. So we should usually have 2 productivity coaches at a time. And then director of agent services, we have an executive assistant that does all of our special events and works closely with the team leaders. And, director of first impression. So just like normal, except you'll notice that the ATL role is new for us, because Diane and I have kind of just been juggling and dividing and conquering everything about the team leader role for 9 years. And so now it's really nice to bring specialists in, where we bring in Jen that can help us out with some of that. And then Blake can handle really that. I'm thinking about getting my license. And we've also brought in growth partners too, agents that want to recruit, and they'll help on the front end too with schools and stuff. But everybody's a specialist on our team. You're right.
Yeah. So I had a question about, with so many agents and teams in your office doing 20 million or more, give me some examples of what their model looks like? Obviously, they're all following the model, right? But what's their day look like? Are they all? Hopefully, they
Are
are.
they?
Hopefully, they are.
Of course they
For the
are.
webinar's sake, if they are.
Yes, yes. For the most part,
Well,
they are. Yeah.
what are they? I mean, they've got to be doing something, right?
Oh, they're doing a lot right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what does it look like for them? I mean, you have 800 plus agents. Are these 37? Are they in the office? They're doing their lead generation. What does it look like for teams like that, or so many teams or agents like that to get to that level?
I'd say I'm looking at my list of the top 37, probably about 60 to 70% of them are housed in office of those
Okay.
people. And I would say another common denominator there would be they all have MAPS coaches, honestly.
Oh, okay.
They embrace growth, right? And so they've been through Bold and multiple times. Like Ricky Kane will put his team through Bold every year.
Yeah.
And that's one thing Tim said early on in his career too, is he took Bold and he got a coach right away. So that because our agents talk about that, there's a lot of like, that's normal. Okay, I'm getting ready for MAPS. I'm getting ready for MAPS. And then you see their business explode. Like we have a lot of people in-house that like we have one guy that I recruited that was at kind of at 12 million. And just by coming, he was his own broker, by coming in our environment, he's more than doubled his business. We have other people that have quadrupled their business. Why? Because it's the environment of, hey, I can run that off of so-and-so. Patrick, the guy I just introduced you to, Birdsong, that was just in here, right? He was saying, I never really had real estate friends. He's been in the business his whole life. Like his dad's a big deal. His dad was a big star power guy. He said, it wasn't until I came to Keller Williams 4 years ago that I really feel like I have friends in the business. And what I mean is it's that collaborative environment. When you create that culture of collaboration, they are reaching out to each other. Like I was consulting with one of our top teams yesterday who really need an admin right there. And, one of my top 3 suggestions was call Ricky. Ricky Kane is interviewing, on his growth plan every week. He has this many people he's meeting with, and his particular person he's looking for might not be a fit for him, but it'd be a great. So you're seeing a lot of sharing on that, right? And so you create that, they plug in, they get them all. I laugh about the model. Of course, they follow the MREA, but there are variances. And Gary says it's their business, right? This is a guide. This is a map for you to follow. Of course, you're going to put your own unique spin, and I just mean some teams have, their agents can do listings and buyers, and some teams are super specialized, right? Like, no, you're the ISA and then you work up to the showing assistant in that model. So that does vary a bit, but most of them all get the power of the mindset behind the MREA. Like they know the power of that and they're living it. And so you have these other competitors that have no clue, like, what are you guys doing? I had no idea that you had so many top producers at Keller Williams, because we hire new people. And so we get this reputation. I'm like, but the thing is about those 37 on that list, Nick, most of them are all grown through our office.
Well, it's interesting because, Gary always says the most successful agents in the business aren't in the business yet. Yeah. And, it is totally true that, look at what's around you. I mean, if you have a goal to get to 50 million in volume, and the highest producing agent in your office is 25 million, which is great. Don't get me wrong, but your goal is 50. It's going to be very difficult for you to get there if you're only surrounded by people who are doing 50% of where you need to be. And so when I was at TL and I would talk to people about what their goals are, and they would tell me, I would say, well, I know your company and I know who is producing there, and there's no one producing at that level. So how are you going to get there? Who are you going to learn from?
Who's going to teach me, right? Or who's going to teach you? Yeah.
So you're just around those people, and you are around that successful environment, and everybody at Keller Williams, I'll just bring up profit share for a minute. Everyone at Keller Williams, in part to profit share, we all have this common goal to see everybody succeed. And so that's kind of where our culture comes from. Hey, talk to me about profit share for a second. What was your profit share numbers for this year?
Over 1.1 million.
Okay, so you shared over $1 million.
Yeah.
Not so bad.
Not so bad, right? I mean, that's pretty cool, right? It's like, what did your owners give you for being part of your company? Yeah, it's
But I just think that it's a testament to just kind of who you're around. And a lot of the times, agents like Ricky or Wendy, those people are, they remember where they came from,
yeah,
and they know how hard it is to get there. And they're usually the most giving people,
they are. Yeah.
and they
Lifting
want to.
people with them, right? Just lifting up, because that's what we do here. That's just what we do. That's the way we are at Keller Williams. And, just a funny thing about the profit share is you just, it's always a reminder that you always have to be educating your people, because they don't really understand certain, not just about profit share, but this is a funny example. We had our awards about 4 years ago, and Althea Osborne,
Mhm.
Miss
Yep.
Royalty. She's
Yeah.
also in this office, and it's so funny because she'll just walk by and she's like, "Oh, did you see my profit share statement?" And it's like this book this big, and I'm like, "Oh, can we do a video? I want
How
to see
many
that."
zeros this month?
Right, exactly. And it's so exciting. And it's so funny. And we have Brent Mitchell in our office. Brent Mitchell's the #1 recruiter agent for Keller Williams for the past 8 years.
Wait, really?
Yes. So how do
Wow.
we have all these amazing people? It's a mindset thing, right? Because
That's
we
awesome.
believe that it's possible. And but it was funny because Althea had gotten like 700,000 or whatever that year, right? And I think we hadn't hit 1 million. We were like at 900. So there was all this talk going on after the awards, and then it got back to us that some guy in the back's going, "We'll see, 900,000 in profit share. Well, 700 of that went to Althea." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" And this was somebody who had been on the ALC before. And I'm like, they don't understand profit share. Most of all, Thea's profit share is coming from Dallas area, right? She
Right.
helped Gary launch that. They didn't understand that, right? So they're thinking, okay, well, that's only 200 for the rest of us. And we're like, oh my gosh. Same with Brett Mitchell. We laugh because if he'll recruit 170 people, everybody will be snarky when we're getting the award for whatever, and they'll be, "Oh yeah, but you guys recruited 304 last year, right? And 170 of those were Brent Mitchell." And we're like, "You know how many of those actually went to our office? Just
Right.
guess." And they'll say, "Oh, I don't know, at least half of them." I'm like two or maybe one, right? Which Brent's working on for us. So you just have to always keep educating people, because people will create stories if you don't tell your story yourself. And that's why, like Outfront Magazine, that video I sent you yesterday,
Yeah.
that is such a tool. And you mentioned, like, if you're in an office where you don't have that $50 million producer, I mean, Outfront Digital, Outfront the magazine, it's my favorite thing to be like, well, look at this person. I bet I could connect you. I mean, Mike McCann up in Philly, he's the nicest guy,
The
right?
best.
Anybody could reach out and say, "Hey, I'm thinking about this," and I'm sure he would probably answer, because that's that collaborative, abundant mindset that we have here. So find those stories. If you don't have those in your office, find them. Because when I
Well,
moved to Austin, we didn't have a lot of those at the moment. We have a lot of them now.
speaking of Mike, uh, he, was the number one agent. He's the number one agent in Philly for like 30 years,
Right.
and his team, and he was with Berkshire Hathaway, and he just made the switch like a year ago, because even someone at that level, the number one agent in the entire city of Philadelphia, realized he had hit a ceiling
That's
and
right.
he needed something new. Jeff Cohn,
Yeah.
the number one agent at Berkshire Hathaway in the entire country by unit count, 600 units. He, um, you know, realized, and it's funny that he needed to make the move. It's funny about Jeff, right? Because like you look at 600 units for Berkshire Hathaway, he's like, I could have been the top dog forever, right? But
Right.
then you got agents like the Lokins who are doing 2,500 units, and
Exactly.
I'm not undermining Jeff's production, but he's like,
Yeah.
I gotta be around those people. Like he goes,
Oh yeah.
I am it.
Yeah.
Like I'm it for Berkshire Hathaway. No one's selling more homes than
Yeah.
me. How am I going to sell more homes? I got to be around those people.
That's right.
You
It's so
know?
cool. I mean, a husband and wife that I dearly love. They joined us in spring from a competitor, and they were like the top dogs there. They were 20 million. They're a big deal. They were the top three, producers there, pretty much. They're definitely in the top. And the joke is, and he's like, and now we're at Keller Williams at the Southwest Market Center, and we're not even anywhere near like the top 20. Like,
Right.
oh my gosh. And here that other broker had been saying, oh, we're the best and this and that, because they did do a better job telling their story. than we do, right? And so, because we let our people tell our stories for us, and now I think we're doing a lot better job telling our story as well. But it was a very humbling and kind of motivating thing for him as well, because it's like, wow, there's so much more I could be doing. And just like when they're at Mega Camp with me, they're like, my mind is just blown on what the potential is. I had no idea. I wish I'd have come here 10 years ago. And it's like, well, you're here now, right? So finding those people, even if you go after the number one guy in your city and you don't have that in your office, help them double their business and connect them to other people in other cities that have. I think we're being hit hard in Austin with a lot of new weird competitors. I'm sure a lot of cities are as well. And so that 2.7 billion in sales, because I'm probably one of the most vocal of the team leaders here in Austin. I do a lot of, imagine that, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like you, Nick. And I'm just always talking about great things happening. And so I didn't want to post that 2.7 billion number because I knew the competitors would take that as that was our market share, right? Like that's what the city did. And that's not what the city did. The city includes the Northwest, includes Round Rock, Lake Travis. And when you do those numbers, it's 5.37 billion and it's 16,444 units closed. I mean, and so the power, if you're not pulling your resources together with other Keller Williams offices as well, find that great story to tell, because that is an amazing story.
That's, oh yeah, it's unbelievable. Hey,
Visual.
oh yeah, such a good visual. I love it. And with all of those units, there's definitely more than enough business for everyone to go around.
That's right.
So where do you go from here, Melanie? You personally, where do you go? You're doing it all, right? Or you're clearly not at your ceiling. So what do you see yourself doing in the future?
That is such a great question, Nick, and I do not have the answer to that. I have such trust in our leadership here in Austin with Gary, working with Gary Keller. It's funny because Diane wanted to be an OP, and that was never, I didn't want to be an OP when I grew up. My thing was more bold coach, mega agent, write that book, energy. That's more been my thing, right? However, what I did want to do is I wanted to help other team leaders be great. That's just I love that. I love I love when people come visit me. It's my favorite. I always get more out of the meetings when people like you come visit me. I love it. It energizes me, right? When I became OP of Market Center 8 here in Austin, I realized, I'm like, well, there it is. It just articulated itself differently, because what does an OP do? He builds and helps team leaders be great, right? And so it just showed up differently for me. So being an OP really kind of opened my eyes in a new way, because now I want to be even a better executive team leader, because I want to lead by example, and I'm in the trenches with them. So that was like a new thing that kind of like, and with all the industry changes, it kind of disrupted me. So it's exciting again. So I have such a trust that the right opportunity will reveal itself when it does, and I will know. But I don't have anything like set in my head about that's what it is. I just know Keller Williams is the place. It's so funny. I got an email yesterday, somebody about an agent leaving and why Keller Williams. And I just emailed her back, and they said, I know you'll always be honest with me. I'm like, there has never been a better time to be part of Keller Williams, 100%. And then I just like nixed her little thing that, she's like, that's all I needed to hear. I knew you'd say that.
It's funny that you said that, you're not sure, right? Because for me, I wasn't sure either. Like when I was selling real estate in New Jersey, and then I got an opportunity to be a team leader in Clarkston, Michigan, right? Like, but the reason why I took it wasn't necessarily because I wanted to be a team leader. I didn't know that I had always told myself I didn't want to be a team leader, because I had seen what team leaders in my market centers go through. But I took the job because I did see it as a way to improve my leadership skills and a leadership opportunity. And of course, my wife is from Clarkston, and it was her hometown. Right. And then I was in it for 20 months, and I learned a ton about a lot of things. And then I transitioned into regional tech trainer for Michigan and Northern Ohio. And that wasn't even something, first of all, that wasn't even a thing when I
No, it wasn't. But
it's just like a new thing now.
Yes,
And
because how you showed up, though, my darling.
what?
It's because how you showed up. You showed up as a real leader in our company for embracing tech, and
Well,
you
I love
it's a real
technology. I
yeah.
appreciate that. I
Well,
love
I do too.
technology, and I love teaching real estate through technology. And I feel very strongly about how we're in a day and age now where relationships are nurtured through technology, whether you want to believe it or not.
Yeah,
And it was one of those positions where I wasn't looking for it.
yeah.
Um,
Those are the best opportunities.
yeah, I love it. And you know who said this? Diane Griffin. Diane Griffin came and taught at our market center
She's awesome.
last year. And she said that at Keller Williams, you always have to be ready for that tap on the shoulder. And so I was like, wow, that's such a cool, like,
It's so true.
yeah, like, and I think, you know, if you want to do any sort of leadership position in the company, you have to be a TL for at least a year. You have
I agree with that.
got to suffer through it. Just kidding.
Or 12 years if you're me, like Miss Entrepreneur that I'm like, yeah, there's no way I'm doing this job for like more than 5 years. You could,
Right.
you know, but I'm like, okay, I'm in Austin, so I'll do it a couple more. And Mary Tenant's like, oh no, we have years to come. And I'm like, yeah, okay.
Oh,
And here I am. She was right.
well, 4 months into the role for me, I called my TL in New Jersey and I apologized just because.
How horrible you made her life.
Well, no, we just didn't get along, but now we're a lot closer and we get along really well. And and it's funny because it's one of those roles where every agent thinks they can do it.
Oh, they do, because we're so much like a mega agent, and we just have the biggest team in the market center.
They're like, I gave Nick the name of an agent and they still aren't here yet. I'm like, do you know how long this process is?
Right.
It is a very long process.
Well, it's because they have so much faith in you, Nick. They thought you would just get them overnight because you're so charming, you know?
Oh, well, I mean, there's that, but
never be attached to the outcome. That's a big lesson that I always prepare people. Never attach to the outcome. It will organically come when it's time. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so you just have to, it's all about relationships and it's all about building trust. And
well, can you believe how, you know, you showing up the way you've shown up with the technology? You've been such a leader to us, an inspiration to us as leaders of market centers in embracing this and giving us tips on how to be better at that. And then, you know, partnering up with Josh and having this future con in Vegas, and another door opens. I mean, are you surprised? No, because it's the most natural, progressive opportunity for you.
When Josh first reached out to me, yes, I was very surprised. Yeah. I was like, awesome. I show my wife, I'm like, is
this a real number?
Josh just text me.
Yep.
But it's very, very cool the way our leadership at all levels, you know, recognizes when people are doing cool things, and that's what I love about. That's what I love it. One of the things I love about it. Well, I hope that everyone got some gold nuggets. I know that I certainly did, and you know, your market center is doing things that a lot of market centers aren't doing, and
if it can be done once, it can be done again, right?
Right. And listen, no market center is perfect. Believe me, like. You know, Melanie's market center is not perfect. No one's market center is perfect. Melanie's just doing some things that are really good and right. And I'm sure that there are also things that we can always improve on, right?
So learning opportunity. What will I learn today?
Yes. Exactly. But so anyway, it was super fun to talk to you. And the next time I'm in Austin, I'm looking forward to come back and.
Oh, I can't wait to see you. We'll do our dance again, okay?
Oh yeah, that was. Let's just pretend that never happened. No,
okay.
That was a lot of fun. But thanks for being on with us. And you know, your accomplishments are awesome, and every team leader can learn from them. And like you said before, like people like team leaders and people in our company who are sort of influencers. You know, it's our job to be connectors, right? Like,
yes,
I love connecting one person to another.
Yes.
Like I love when that happens and people learn from each other. That's when the magic starts to happen. Like an agent in my market center is doing really well with command ads on Facebook. And I'm like, you got to talk to Leilana. She's the editor of Outfront magazine. I'm like, you got to talk to her. So I texted Jason and her. I was like, Leilana, you got to talk to Jason about what he's doing with Facebook ads and command. And guess what? Yesterday, an article about him was published in Outfront.
Oh, that's what you're talking about. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, like that's just what our company does. Like we just want We want to hear about this stuff.
Right.
You know? We
And
want to.
if you're a team leader and you're not in touch with Lelena about your head turners coming, I mean, that's part of my thing. Like when I'm working with someone, I'm like, listen, I want to get you an article in Outfront. That's a goal of mine. Like I
Yeah.
want you featured. I want that to go out to everyone. You know, I want everybody to know your story and why you chose to come to Keller Williams, and free advertising for you. So be that connector. So think, who am I not connecting with that I should be connecting with, right? And am I really being that facilitator and amplifier for my people?
Well,
That's
now that Jason, the agent that connected, he can bring that with him to listing consultations and say, listen, my company wrote about me in our company magazine about how great I am at social media marketing, and I can do that for your house. And and I'm like, dude, that's huge leverage. Like this is a great opportunity for you.
So cool.
So
can't
well,
wait
anyway,
to
listen,
see
Melanie,
family reunion, my dear.
I'll see you in a month.
Okay, see you soon.
Have a good one. Bye. Thank you.
Okay.